Hello, and welcome back to Mortals and Portals, a Pathfinder real play podcast. I am your host and GM, Zach, and joining me at the table is
Adam, and I play Jules, an Azure Kitty Bard.
Joel, but I play Dax, a kobold rogue.
Ooh.
Brian, or I play Tough, an automaton inventor.
Taryn, well, I play Walt's a human champion.
I was wondering
Close.
what word you were going to use. I was like, I don't know what I would do. That was good. Yeah.
Hey, look,
at
we're
that.
all back again.
Everyone's here. We're all back together.
We did
We're
it.
not recording
Welcome.
episodes that take place
We are?
after an episode
Oh,
that I already
okay.
recorded. Or wait, before an episode I already recorded. I don't know. It was
Missed
confusing.
you guys.
I hope you all listened to the episodes you weren't in. Maybe not. But
haven't.
you know
Adam,
what?
did you listen
Did
to
you listen to it, Adam? Be honest.
Taryn
Adam.
and Mai's episode?
I had started, and I realize
no.
now that I forgot to finish it.
So you
Oh,
didn't
did you
listen
hear
to
at the
theirs either.
beginning when I was trying to guess what you were gonna say as your like leading thing and then copy you?
I remember that, but I forget now.
Well, I
So-
didn't do it correctly.
I mean,
Was
there's
he
really
right?
only one question
Oh.
that matters then, Adam. Like, do you know what happened to Smith?
Zach, you're a monster.
I had heard certain things happen, but I didn't get to hear the end. So,
So
I was
you thought we
hopeful
were
that
joking.
Maybe something. I thought you were.
Does anyone want to tell him, or
I can't do it.
should we just not tell him?
Yeah, let's not tell him.
Yeah, dude. Ryan killed Smith. I don't really know what to tell you.
no.
He just pulled
That
out
sounds
his
right.
pistol
Yeah, that's
and
how I remember it.
looked away.
I'm
and
leaving.
Smith.
No, if I had to guess, out of anyone in this group, you, Zach, would kill.
It's actually
Uh-huh.
technically it was the Merkvein, which I have little to no control over.
Of course
And
not.
You guys can get mad at my dice if you want, but
It was out of all of our hands.
There was nothing you
it's
could do.
unrelated. Yeah.
Zach's like, I don't know what you want me to do. I made his
So he's-
attack
he's really
1d100 plus
gone.
1,000.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
really gone.
What do you want me to do? I homebrewed auto crit on hippogriffs only. Like I don't know what you want me to do. That my
He
hands
was
are
already
tied.
in there.
Yeah, it was already in the thing I made.
Rest in peace, sweet prince.
Right. Well, I guess technically in the last episode, that was with Jules and Dax battling Raoul, and you all sort of caught up on the castle surface. So he crawled his way up that rope. I guess climb. I don't know if you can crawl on a rope. I don't think it works that way. And Jules was up there and Dax, and you all were battling. And at one point, he just was like, "Hey, enough of this. I need to like explain to you why I'm trying to do this very clearly because I don't think you guys understand." You know, he thought he could just beat you outright. Didn't think it was worth explaining all this. And then he just kind of spills it. And essentially, Lorthal has a note on it, which is somehow essential to allowing beings from another system to travel to Lorthal at an unknown point in time, but he is implying it is soon. And this force is known as the Alvirium. And he is under the impression that once they are here, there is no stopping them. And they are going to basically purge the system of Keldora of everything that inhabits it, everything that is good. I don't really know. He just makes it sound like it's the doom of Keldora. So his solution, along with Gotham, was to drop Ciudad de la Nubes on Lorthal because there isn't enough old magic left to destroy a node outright. So they figured blow up the whole planet, and then the nodes will no longer be in orbit or align with anything. And that's what he's trying to do. And he even seemed like remorseful in a way, in the sense where he's like, look, I know this is not an easy decision. And he's like, but I made mine, no matter how unsavory it is. But I'm going to sacrifice one world to save six. And you guys want to spare the one and risk losing them all. That's on you. And that's what he was fighting for. And he kind of framed it as like, well, Keldor is my home and I don't want to see it devoured. But you guys are the heroes. You want to save everyone. And you battle him. Ultimately, kill him. And in his like final moments, so he had kind of this like homebrew idea I had, basically called like a defiant act, where once he's reduced to zero, he gets to do like one like non-combat action. And I used it as for him to just kind of throw the Flora Devida in his like dying moments as he kind of died against the pillar. And that's what sent it back into the abyss, like into the cavern. And then Jules had to first rescue Dax, who was downed, which I think Joel said that's the first time Dax has been down in the campaign.
I believe so.
We got to
Holy
pump those
smokes.
numbers up. Thanks for letting me know, Joel. I got to make sure I target Dax explicitly from here on out. But I'll work on that. I have a little note right here.
No. I got down a
Um,
lot, man. You
yeah.
just, I don't tell you.
And yeah, so then Jules dove into the cavern back into his pillar of water and was making his way towards the Flora Devida that he saw below on a land bridge. And as he was approaching it, guess what? The city started to fall. And that is where we ended our
Perfect
session.
timing. How could we have known that it was going to happen right then and there?
I don't know. I just have no idea. That is where we ended our session, though. That's not quite where we're going to start our session because obviously Waltz and Tough, they weren't here, because of the way we record our episodes. So let's check in with what was happening to them just before that moment occurred. So Waltz and Tough, you guys were making your way back to the Castle of Starsea, trying to see what you could do to go help Dax and Jules or just see what's going on there. So after running for some time, the two of you return to that tree line where you rested before you were waiting for the city to fall, where you oversaw the entire castle and the lake around it. And can you all roll me a perception check? Well, Waltz and Tough, because I know Adam's going to go, me, Zach. So I just cut
What do you
that
mean,
off.
you all?
I got a 17.
He does it anyway. Gosh, I hate Adam so much.
I got a 16.
14.
Tough. Right away, as you finally are able to see the Castle of Starsea after all this running, there's almost like this mental part of you that feels like you are there now that you can see it. And as you stop and sort of see this pillar of smoke going into the air from this flaming castle, as you see hippogriffs flying in the distance and many, many explosions, you suddenly just feel exhausted. Like this residual energy you've been running off of this whole time that you haven't even stopped to think about is finally catching up to you. And you just feel extremely weak. You feel slow as you are just trying to regain your bearings and maybe stand upright. And you just feel physically just like unprepared for greater physical toll or damage as you are now fatigued and slowed.
All right, let me add these conditions.
Dang.
Ryan,
did you
would you-
say something to Zach before we started?
Nothing more than the usual.
Brian, I said don't say anything at all. Dang.
Yeah.
Waltz, as you see this castle, you maybe expect to hear Tough say some sort of strategy or comment on the current situation because it looks like it's only gotten worse since you left. You don't hear anything and maybe look over your shoulder and see him maybe wobbly, perhaps his hands on his knees,
Yeah.
looking completely spent.
Tough, buddy. What's going on? You all right?
Yeah. We got to keep going though.
Yeah, but listen, Tough. Why don't you let me carry you?
Why don't you let me carry you, you fig? And then I'll just like collapse to the ground.
All right, buddy. And I'll walk over, grab Tough, and throw him over my shoulder.
Waltz, as you crouch down to try and pick up Tough, you feel the ground shake beneath your feet in a very familiar way that maybe causes you to stumble back for a moment away from Tough. And then as you crawl forward to try and grab him again, knowing what's coming, can you both roll me a reflex save?
Tough, hold on, buddy.
And Tough, you're going to have to roll that with a -1 status penalty.
17.
20.
Just as it was the second time the city fell, rather than tipping on its side, you just suddenly feel the ground retreat beneath your feet and send you up into the air as you reach out for something to grab on. And as you're on the edge of the tree line, you realize you're sort of far away from trees. Maybe Waltz, you reach out to try and grab Tough and pull him towards you, and your guys' fingers slip through each other's hands. Tough,
Waltz.
you bash your back into the back of a tree. Waltz, maybe some rubble flying through the air from rocks lifting off the ground, gets struck a couple times and starts spinning sideways as well. Tough, you are going to take 3 damage. And Waltz, you are going to take 6.
Ooh.
That puts Tough down.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Dang it.
So did I land on the ground or?
No, you guys are in a free fall again. The city is plummeting and you see no sign of it stopping. As it's falling, you fall through the clouds into open air. And you can see very faintly on the horizon the sun starting to come up. There is some light casting over this city. And now that the clouds have scattered, Waltz, you can clearly see Tough unconscious, floating through the air, smacking into trees a ways off from you. And with that, we will jump over to Jules.
Wow, great.
Glad you guys are
Holy-
back.
turn.
Glad to have you all together again.
no.
Frick. I left my
back.
turn.
Jules, you are 2 floating in the air with pieces of debris from the falling castle up above bouncing around in the air, the land bridge crumbling, water lifting from the waterfall and the sea below up into the air. Can you roll me an athletics or acrobatics check?
23.
Awesome. And Dax, can you roll me a reflex save?
You bet. 22.
Dax, as the city starts to fall, more of the roof caves in from the castle as the foundation just becomes further compromised, and you are dodging and weaving, but then lifting off the ground as well, and you get struck lightly in the shoulder by a boulder as well and spin and take 3 damage. And Jules, as you are falling through the air, water from the waterfall next to you spills out in front of you, and you hear Danger Diego, "Hold on, Judas!" And he holds onto your shoulder tightly and freezes the water mid-air, and you quickly see what he is doing and then swim through this pocket of water and dive out the other side, bringing you closer
Heck
to the
yeah.
Flora Devida. Can you
Heck
roll
yeah.
me another athletics check?
Uh-oh. That's a nat 1.
Yeah.
No.
Oh my gosh. Do you want to use a hero point?
Do I have one?
Do you not?
I don't.
That's
Oh,
terrible.
no.
Jeez. Can you roll me a percentage die?
Yeah. 63.
Okay, it's not too bad. Jules, as you push out the other side of this water, you see another pocket just up ahead as you push your arms back and do a skydive towards it, but almost overconfident, thinking that you have the upper hand now with Diego on your side and your ability to swim through water. You almost forget your unpredictable surroundings as a huge chunk of the land bridge just comes flying across and strikes you hard and just crumbles around you as you spin way off course and take 8 damage. And Waltz and Dax, can you roll me reflex saves? Tough. You are unable to roll a reflex save because you are unconscious. So you are going to take damage for
Oh.
certain.
Oh, goodness.
Waltz, I will say this, you can attempt to reach for Tough or recover him in some way if you want to forego your own reflex save from dodging these boulders and do some sort of athletics or acrobatics to try and get to him.
Okay. I still have that grappling gun, right?
Oh, I guess Tough did make
Yeah,
sure you had that.
you
He tried
do.
very hard to make sure.
Okay, so
It's
what I
all
will
comes
do
full circle.
is, yes, I will forego, per se, my athletics reflex response.
Okay.
And I will give that in turn to alternately perform an athletics check with that grappling gun to try and figure out if there's a way I can grab onto something that will swing me into a different angle to where then I can get Tough.
Or, I mean, alternatively, you do have a grappling gun that you could fire at Tough if you want to, like, be able to
Then he's
pull
gonna
him
take some
towards you.
damage, isn't he?
Maybe. So, which do you want to do?
So I will forego my reflex save, and I would like to use that grappling gun that Tough gave me to shoot at him to try and bring him closer to me.
Okay, roll me an athletics check.
Make sure it's a high one, Taryn.
Don't screw this up.
Good and high number.
Not losing another character.
16.
Oh no. Waltz, you desperately fire out the grappling gun, but right as you're about to shoot it, as you're foregoing your own reflex save, not concerned about the surroundings, you are smashed into a tree and it spins you off course. You fire the grappling gun into nothing and hold on to the gun, though the string is simply dangling and maybe even getting tangled around trees. Tough, you're going to take damage, which will send you into dying 2. What did you get on your reflex save, Dex?
18.
You take 2 damage once again as you're doing your best to try and grab onto the catwalk up in the castle, just try and get somewhere safe, but you're just being thrown all about in all this chaos. That'll take us back to Jules. Jules, roll me another athletics or acrobatics as you're fighting your way.
How much damage do I take, Zach?
Oh, 4 damage. What'd you get, Jules?
Nat 20.
Oh,
Nice.
no way.
Yeah.
So the pendulum swings.
That is wild. Okay, Jules, after being thrown off by this rock, you see another boulder flying at you and regain your composure, flip over it and run along the rock and then push off into a pillar of water that just sort of formed naturally in this spiral from the water being whipped around and dive straight through it, pop out the other side. You are so close to the Flora Devida. I counted that as 2 successes,
Yes.
Nice.
Thank you, Zach.
but everyone else needs to roll me another reflex save.
I'm going to forego
Waltz,
mine
you're
to
foregoing
try
it
and
again?
get tough because I do have that other grappling hook
Okay,
from when I climbed up the wall.
all
Don't
right.
let me die.
It's just
Good thing I
completely
got-
out of his
T-Dog.
hands.
Good thing I got so many grappling hooks on me, huh?
Get up, boy.
You throw a hammer
Use
at
the
him next
saddle
time.
if you need to.
Throw the hammer at me.
Pretty soon he's just gonna he's gonna tie a rope to his
Tough,
shoe and
try
see if
this.
that'll work.
I try and put lay on hands into the hammer and just clock him.
It's hammering time. Just throws a hammer at Devin.
Tough, I'm sorry. I thought I could throw lay on hands into the hammer and then use it as a projectile, but I think I killed you.
You bring the hammer to life instead.
Okay. All right, so I'll make my athletics check, Zach and Essie. Okay, 24.
That's pretty good, Zach.
That is
Okay.
pretty good.
Waltz, maybe just out of frustration, throw the grappling gun to the side. You've never been one to use firearms anyway. You have some experience with this other type of grappling hook when you climbed the wall and took out that kitsune with it. And as you're holding onto it, you're spinning it in the air as Tough is sort of free floating around you, banging off these trees.
Tough, I'm coming.
And you spin it and you're just about to release it and you get struck by another boulder, but as you spin, you underhand toss the grapple through the air and keep your eyes centered on Tough as it lassos around him and hooks over his body, and you gang him towards you, and after getting hit by the rock, you're able to bear hug him in the air as you spin around.
Let's go. Yes. Come for me, Waltz.
But you do take 3 damage as
All
you're
right.
struck by another boulder. What did you get on your reflex save, Dex?
I got a 19 on this one.
Darn it. All right. You
I
take
know.
2 damage. Well, 1. I'll round down. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
And that
Don't
will
let it
take
happen.
us back to Jules. Jules, roll me another athletics or acrobatics check.
Oh no way.
Another nat 20.
Another nat 20.
Another nat 20.
That
nice.
is awesome. Danger, Diego says, "We are so close, my friend! For Carlos!" And
For Carlos!
you see another pool of water. Dive through it once again. Grab the Flora Devida and roll through the air. Kick off the land bridge it was on. Dive further. And you reach out your arm as you're sort of floating in the air, the roots just dangling above the soils of Caverna de Luz. You're reaching out your arm as far as you can, and slowly the roots of the Flora Devida start to extend and grow as if it's yearning for this soil, and grips it as you release your hand, and it digs into the soft soil. And as you're just hanging there staring at it, you're waiting for some sort of visual sign, and you start to panic as nothing is really happening, though it's firmly planted in the soil now, and you're waiting in suspense.
I look to Diego and I say, Diego, what's wrong?
I do not know. This is where it goes. Trust me. And after some time just hanging there, maybe you're bouncing off some more rocks, just keeping your eye on this Flora Devida. Eventually, The petals open, and that familiar Baja Blast glow emanates, and the petals extend, and it begins to flourish ever so slightly as the city is still falling and falling, but then you gradually feel everything around you tremble and shake as it's meeting resistance, as it's conjuring this magic to slow its fall. All of you outside are feeling the same thing, and it's slowing and slowing and slowing. And Waltz, from your perspective, maybe up in a tree now as you're holding on to Tough, you can start to see the ocean coming to meet you guys off in the horizon. It's falling and falling and falling, and then it plunges into the ocean as you see massive waves fly up into the air. Jules, it suddenly comes to a screeching halt as you hear a loud crack as the earth beneath you trembles. You land on your stomach after hovering mere feet above the ground, and then look up and then see everything around you crumbling and shaking as the roof begins to cave in and water starts pouring in out the sides as it's about to flood Caverna de Luz. And you look and see the Flora Devida charged, but you can tell it at least did its job. It hasn't exploded. Lorthal isn't destroyed, but this cavern is being flooded with water, and the Flora Devida is about to be washed away.
Oh my
What do you do?
gosh.
Diego, we have to get out of here.
Of course. Are you ready?
I look around. Is there still like a waterfall?
Yeah, I mean, there's water everywhere. Like with Diego, you can swim.
Do I feel like I see a path that would get me back up to at least close to where Dax was?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially as the water is beginning to flood in and fill. But again, you see the water washing towards the Flora Devida as it's about to be buried.
Yeah. I go over to the Flora Devida and gently pull it out
All right.
of the
you
ground.
Firmly grab the Flora Devida by its roots, yank it back from the soils as you still see some light dancing around it. Magic is back in this Flora Devida. Does not look as pitiful as it does when you got it back from Gothram. And as the water washes over the soils it was on and meets your legs and starts to rise and meet you at the waist, you start to swim your way up, using Diego's ability to swim up waterfalls, diving across. And as water just begins to flood behind you, you realize there's almost no need for it as it's raising you up to Dax. Dax, you see Jules flood over the opening into the castle with water rushing in to meet you. The two of you see each other now.
Dax!
Jules.
As you get the sense that this entire castle is about to just be washed away. And Dax,
Time to go!
you can't swim.
Yeah, we gotta go. And yeah, I'll start looking, I guess, for anywhere that is like, are the walls crumbling around me such that there are obvious points of egress, or is this more
Dax,
just like
I would say maybe you hop up on some rubble as water floods in and then just blasts out one of the weakened walls from all the explosions that have taken place in there. And then you just see this wave like rush onto the battlefield and just start knocking over like undead. And you see all these loyal Kitsune look around towards each other, and they're like hopping back on the hippogriffs and grabbing each other out of the way as they're flying off. And undead is just getting like washed out, and all the Kitsune with the rifles are looking back. Oh, what is happening? And they just get blown away by this water. Jules, what do you do?
So how full is the water right now? Like, is Dax like trapped?
Basically, there is this fountain beneath your feet just flooding everything with water, and it's about to meet you with the lake. Like, you get the sense that this entire castle of Star Sea and like the little island it's on is about to just be washed away in water and meet with the lake.
Okay. And is there like any high ground? Feels like a safe place for Dax to be.
Sure. Yeah, you guys could try to get to the top of the castle really quick.
I give the Flor de Vida to Diego, and I say, keep this safe. Take us to higher ground, and I'll be right behind you. And then I go over to Dax, and I say, Dax, do you trust me?
yeah, with my life.
All right. I'll turn around and kind of open up my arms, and I'll say, hop on my back.
Okay. And I'll do that. Dax will hop up.
I'll turn back to him, and I'll say, how long can you hold your breath?
I don't know.
Well, take a deep one. And I'll dive and I'll follow Diego and
You dive
keep
under
up
the
with him.
water just as it overtakes the room you're in. The castle starts crumbling. Diego is essentially creating like a pocket of water, his ability to make water still, to create this tunnel that isn't constantly blasted by these tides and these waves.
nice.
So it makes this little pocket
Diego,
that you guys
clutch.
are able to swim through as he's holding on to this glowing Flora Devida that's like perhaps twice his size, but he's such a strong swimmer, and he's slithering through the water as all of you guys follow behind him, and you realize the entire castle has been washed away, and sometime later, the three of you make it to shore, though this time the shore has risen all the way to the peak of that overhang that you guys once stood at to overlook from above down to the castle of Starsea.
Oh, outside the donut.
Yes, outside the donut.
Dang.
Wow.
And as
We're in a
Dax
donut-free
maybe
zone right now.
crawls on his stomach, coughing up water, Jules, you climb out, see Danger Diego standing there. For Carlos. And then he looks to you and he raises the Flora Devida up to your hand for you to take it.
Diego, well done, friend. For Carlos. Dax, are you all right?
Jules, you did it. Who's this?
Oh, this is a new friend of mine. His name's Diego, though I realize now you can't understand him.
Dax will just kind of look a little skeptical.
Tell him about Carlos.
He wants me to tell you. We don't have time, Diego. I'll tell him soon. I'll explain everything.
So the two of you just see hippogriffs flying on the horizon as the loyal Kitsune are salvaging their friends from the battlefield. And Tough and Waltz, you guys are a ways off from Jules and Dax, and perhaps this is taking place a little bit before they made it to shore. You guys are in the middle of this forest. Nobody is around. You are on your back and roll your arm out as Tough rolls onto his back on the grassy floor of this forest, and you sit up onto a knee and look down at him. Tough, you do need to roll me one recovery check on your own that took place when he was able to secure you with the grappling hook, and then he will have a chance to do something to help you perhaps, but text me the result. Remember, you are in dying 2, which means you need to roll a 12 or higher, and if you have a critical failure, that counts as 2 failures, so that would kill you. So if you have any hero points, you can use it to re-roll 1.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Waltz, what do you do as you see Tough unconscious before you?
Tough, buddy, please just hold on a little bit longer. And I'll look around for, I don't know, what is there anything that I can do?
You can attempt to aid him with a medicine check, and if you roll well enough, I'll allow him to receive a +1 circumstance bonus to his recovery check.
Okay. So I'll frantically look and kind of triage his body and see maybe where more of like the damage is done and just see what I can do to kind of bind any wound that I can for my attempt to aid.
Waltz, I will also say as you're triaging him and preparing to do this, you do notice that his core is glowing a bit brighter than it was before. It seems to have coincided with the city ceasing to fall. Waltz maybe wouldn't know this, but some energy was resonated throughout the city from the Flora Devida reaching the soils, something all of the Kitsune would felt, and Tough is in a similar circumstance, but this maybe is just something you notice and wouldn't really be able to make sense of. But roll me your medicine
Okay.
check. Mm-hmm.
2.
What?
Dang it.
What?
Dang it.
I got a 2 on that
Singular
one.
digit 2? Is that even
Yeah.
possible?
Yeah, I
That-
had +0
Hold
to
on a
medicine.
second. What's the rules for critically failing an 8
I was going to
action?
say, can he
Oh,
hurt me in this
God.
situation? What the?
Critical failure. Your ally takes a -1 circumstance penalty to the triggering check.
Jeez.
Okay. Tough. Roll me a
Duff, I'm
recovery
so
check.
sorry, buddy.
And Dex me the result.
He is using the hammer.
Oh my god.
I cannot
Hammer
believe
and
this is
time
happening.
indeed.
He's a robot, so
Sorry,
I
Ryan.
think I need to use this hammer.
I gotta hammer him. Here I go.
So Waltz, in, I guess, his final desperate act, will look at the glowing core on Tuff and know that somehow he kind of has this connection with certain materials like the sun shard, for example. So with one final attempt, he'll put his hand on that core and try and draw any energy or reach out to any higher power, or even perform lay on hands, or just conjure any type of like magic or energy or channel anything that could save his life.
All right. I love the description, man, on your critical fail aid check that is given topic -1 circumstance penalty on his recovery check. And Waltz, as you said, man, you're feeling desperate. You're like looking around the forest. It's like your worst nightmare where you just see someone in need of help and you have no idea what to do, and you look around and see no one. You maybe even call out just to see if anyone's nearby.
Anybody, please help!
Your words just echo empty throughout the forest. Nothing returns to you. You look at Tuff, just not moving. Maybe notice
Tuff,
that
come on,
extra
buddy, hold
glow
on.
in him that I described earlier, and see his empty core and are reminded of this, and just frantically dig around and maybe find some sun shard fragments in your pockets or on your clothes from all the explosions you were just in, and gather them together and put them in your hands, and are just thinking desperately how you could channel energy into it. You've seen them glow brighter just from you touching it, and you see them
Please,
start
come
to
on.
glow.
Come
And
on.
you just don't know how automatons work and what to do with this, but you just, in a desperate attempt, want to put energy into his core, and you just stuff that into his core and close your hand over the opening and just think. And then suddenly this bright blue sun shard infused energy just ignites and blasts you backwards away from Tuff as your back smacks into a tree. Because you critically failed, you take 3 damage from that. As you lazily dangle your head for a moment, your ears ringing, head pounding, you look up and see Tuff sitting upright. Looking down at his hands, looking around.
Why does my chest hurt? Ugh.
That did not
What?
help Tuff, by the way.
What the heck is all this? Who put sun shards in me?
Tuff, before you react too much, in that moment you had a rather vivid vision that I'm going to send you.
Oh boy.
All right, I want to give Tuff a moment to read that. So with that, we'll cut back over to Dax and Jules. So I would say it's pretty clear to you guys from the vantage point you're at that Ciudad de la Nubes is now an island in an ocean. And you maybe even looked off into the horizon and saw these massive waves, this water that was displaced from this essentially not quite a continent, but a pretty massive piece of land suddenly plunged into the water. But off in the horizon, you see this blue energy pulsing around these waves, the Flora Devida glow that suppresses the water, trapping it within, and then letting it settle peacefully back down into the ocean, stopping any sort of tidal wave from rippling across Lorthal in all directions.
Awesome. So from like someone on a shoreline, all of a sudden the water just like very quickly
Yeah,
just like raises the
Raises
water
back
level
up.
raises quite a bit.
absolutely. Yeah, you can tell a lot of Ciudad de la Nubes is probably underwater now, and water flooded up from beneath. So Star Sea is now much bigger, much higher water level. And as you guys are standing there, a hippogriff comes flying down and lands next to you. And Zoki and Elyara hop off. Zoki's running up. Dex! Jules!
Zoki, it's good
You're
to see
alive.
you.
Loki, you're alive.
She runs up and just
Thank goodness.
hugs you both, like just pulls you both in and gives you a super tight,
Oh.
firm hug.
Oh, you made it.
Tuff, Walt, where are they?
Yes. Are they with you?
No. No,
What?
they're not.
They went out flying on Smith.
Right, yeah. I mean, I haven't seen the Mukbang. Maybe they killed it. They went towards the city. Maybe we should go that way.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta find them.
Yeah. Let's go now. Dax, are you all right?
I mean, I've been better, but I'll be all right. We gotta find them.
Yeah.
You all start jogging into the woods in the direction of the city. You did see the direction they flew off, so you do have a heading. And that'll take us back to Waltz and Tough.
Tough, buddy. I thought you were a goner.
Was this you? And I start pulling the sun shards out of my chest and throwing them onto the ground.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, sun shards have been pretty reliable with me lately, so I've been using them for a lot, it seems.
You mean the thing that we used to kill the Merkbane? Yeah, brilliant idea.
Yeah. Well, at least you're alive, buddy.
Tough will kind of look around and maybe realize that we're not just totally up in the sky anymore. What happened? Where are we?
The city fell, and honestly, I don't know where we are. And I'll look around and maybe do a perception check, if I could, Zach.
Yeah, roll it up.
18.
Waltz, you maybe faintly off in the distance hear the sounds of Zoki and Dax and Jules calling out your names.
Wait, Tough. Can you hear that?
And I'll knock the side of my head to jostle some nuts and bolts out or something. Hear what?
For a second there, I thought I heard Zoki and Jules.
Maybe Tough could roll a perception check or something at this point too. Try to get
Sure.
an
Roll it
idea
up.
of his surroundings. Nat 20.
Nice.
Wow.
Perceive it all.
Oh yeah, everything.
Tough. As you have been silently contemplating this vision you got, you realize you haven't been fully immersed in your surroundings for a moment, and you take a second to hone in, as Walt suggests he heard your friends on the horizon, and you turn your head as well. Maybe do some adjusting with your mechanical eyes and are able to see Jules and Dax and Zoki and Elyara making their way towards you, calling out, clearly searching for the two of you.
Hey, yeah, you're right. There they are. How is Tough feeling right now? I know he's up. Does he still have that fatigue and stuff like that from his core running out? What's my health looking like?
Well, first of all, you're kind of lucky to even have a hit point in this moment, because normally it just put you at 0. It's not like he healed you. But you can tell that when the Flora Devida was connected back to the soils and energy resonated throughout all of Ciudad de la Nubes, you were given new power. You're still operating without a core, but that residual power you had depleted, you are rejuvenated sort of in the same way a kitsune would be, where they live in proximity to this charged Flora Devida. You're sort of experiencing the same thing. So you obviously still feel very beat up from your battle. You really only have 1 hit point, but you don't feel that imminent sense of death you were feeling, where that energy was just completely drained from you before. And you felt like even if you just stood there and did nothing, you were just going to die earlier, but you at least feel stable for now.
Then I'll stagger to get up and try to make my way there, but maybe stumble a little bit. I'll look to Waltz and I'll be like, well, don't just stand there. Help me.
Let's go, buddy. I'll pick up Tough, throw him over my shoulder, and I'll start running. Jules!
This is embarrassing.
Jules!
Do I hear that?
Oh yeah, you guys all hear each other. You see each other.
Dax! Down there! Look!
They made it.
Oh, yeah, I see him. Let's go. Oh, man. What are
Come
the
on,
odds?
Tough, just a little bit longer. Jules! Dax!
I'm coming!
I'll maybe wave my extendable tail around, trying to get their attention.
And all of you regroup in this clearing in the forest. You all look terrible. You're all just covered in soot and water and cuts and just look absolutely battered. Tough had ripped parts of his arm off. His chest has burn marks all over it. Waltz was clearly in an explosion. I feel like is almost wearing a tank top at this point and just looks super jacked and bloodied and cut up, and his hair's all
Nice.
dangling in front of his eyes. You guys just look like you've been through it.
I run up and I hug him.
Oh, Jules, good to see you.
Walt, you made it. Thank goodness.
So, Jules, you didn't screw it up, huh?
Jules, you did it.
I can't
Oh.
believe it.
I turn around I point at him and I say, "You son of a... Don't you ever do that again."
Oh, come on. You don't remember the old bait and switch, as we called it?
Yes, but it's only fun when we do it to other people, not to each other.
Well, it was clearly a great plan. And I'll just cough up some more sparks and stuff like that. Clearly not doing well.
Tough, are you all right?
I mean, I've had better days, I could say.
Dax will walk up and kneel beside you, Tough, pulling out his bag of his various medical supplies, and he'll look at you in the eyes. I think directly in the eyes, and you can tell he's being pretty sincere here. And he'll say, "Tough, I'm glad you made it," and he'll perform a treat wounds on Tough.
Well, now that you mention it, actually, I feel fine. And I'll, rip my arm away from Dax.
Tough.
Okay.
Tough, what's wrong? Let him help you.
Nothing. I just can take care of it myself. Listen, we got other matters to attend to anyway.
Like what?
Like Don Renard, we gotta go get him. I mean, he needs to get back to the city, right, to feel the energy and all that. And she's looking around at everyone. And as she says that, over her shoulder, you see El Yara kind of standing behind her with her head down, and she looks up. She hasn't really said anything this entire time. You can tell she's just been looking around in the forest and off into the horizon, getting her bearing on what has happened to Ciudad de la Nubes. And she interrupts Zoki and says, "Zoki, my friend, I see why Renard chose you for this fight, for you are nearly as optimistic as he." And Zoki just looks over her shoulder, kind of confused, calming down a little bit. "But my beloved Renard has danced his final dance." And she looks at all of you as she says that.
I look at her, but then I quickly look down.
And she maybe tightens her lips for a moment, getting that visual confirmation from you, as if you know for certain as well. And Zoki's confused. "Well, what do you mean? How you know? Renard is an excellent performer, and he may have fooled you," gesturing to all of you, "for a time, but he cannot fool his wife. I have trained with him, fought with him, raised a family with him." And she's starting to choke up a little bit, but maybe exhales and regains her composure slightly. "When his people need him, he gives everything he has. He does not rest. He does not quit, so long as there is breath in his lungs." And she's tearing up a little bit more, really not doing a good job holding it back. "Renard is not here, not because he is weak and resting, but because he has already given us his all." And she lowers her head and looks off to the side and turns her back on all of you. And then Zoki looks at all of your guys' faces and studies them, maybe getting the vibe that you already knew this, because there's not really any reason for you to react like you didn't. And she's like, no, what? And you see her thinking. And maybe you guys wouldn't have known this, but back after you fought the T-Rex, Renard went up to her and said, "If I can't make it back, can you make sure the Flora Devida gets to my family?" And then he also said, "And my guitar. I get my guitar back to my family." And then before you guys left Renard, he gave Zogi his guitar, and she paused for a moment, thinking that was strange. Like, why would he give me this guitar if he thinks he's going back? And she was just too optimistic and didn't want to believe that, and thought if you guys could save the city fast enough, then she could get it back to Renard and it would be okay. And then after hearing all this, she has her suspicions confirmed, and she just sort of breaks down and cries as well.
I go over to her and I put my hand on her shoulder. "Zoki, there's nothing any of us could have done. This was Renard's decision, but he can live on in our memories. He can live on in our passion for life." And as I squeeze her shoulder gently, I'll walk over to El Yara. "El Yara,
Yes.
Renard wanted us to make sure this found its way to you." And I'll pull out the Flora Devida and I'll extend it to her.
She has her eyes light up for a moment. You can see the reflection of the blue energy in them. And see a little bit more hope stir in her, and she takes it out of your hand and observes it free from the soils. To her, this flower looks very pitiful. To you, it's the best you've ever seen it. And she sort of bounces it in her hands a little bit and then looks off into the horizon, which now is an ocean. And she looks over her shoulder at all of you and says, "Do you know the story of how Ciudad de la Nubes came to be?"
No, we do not.
She just looks at the flower and then back out of the ocean. "Well, long ago, before the beginning of the ages, the Kitsune lived on an island in the middle of the sea." And she gestures out to the ocean. "The magic of old was still at work, shaping the worlds and conjuring new creations, some of which you would not believe. In this, an elemental, born of water and colossal in scope, was ravaging the seas and threatening to pull our home into the depths. It was then we learned of the Keepers." And she looks at all of you, into your eyes. You guys maybe vaguely said some lines about being keepers around her a couple times, to which she thought little of. "We knew not how or why, but they came to our defense, battling the mighty foe, though the unavoidable battle shook the waves even more, and it was clear we would soon be washed away. But Nyakor, a creature called an orc from another world, she came down to rescue us, while the others held off the wretched titan. She found a seemingly ordinary flower, and she looks down at the Flora Devida, and filled it with perhaps the same magic that birthed the elemental. This became the Flora Devida, and it raised our island from the seas and carried us safely away into the skies, out of the Titan's reach. Over the centuries, it became a part of our very nature, shaping us into who we are today. But with that, it seems we have forgotten who we were, and the Flora Devida has chosen to return us from whence we came, guided by the works of new keepers." She looks at you, almost unsure when she says that, but it all just seems too poetic to not be the case. "It is clear someone evil knows of our home, and if we were to return to the skies, they could simply try again, but not anymore." As she looks out at the ocean, "You have saved us, and I think proven yourself to be Galdora's keepers in the eyes of this Flora Devida. And now we will find our new place in the world, just as we once did." And she looks at this withered Flora Devida for however long that may be. "For I'm afraid this flower will soon run out of energy, and with that, so will we. But perhaps that is how it is supposed to be." And she just hands the flower back to Jules.
Tough, almost on instinct, almost like he's possessed, will just blurt out, "The Flora Devida may reside amidst the clouds, but it was given to all of Caldora."
"What?" Zoki lifts her head.
Jules will turn to him.
"That's what that cat guy said."
Tough will kind of shake his head like he didn't really realize that he had said that, and just think of the words that Eliara said about keepers, stuff that Tough had once thought was nonsense, but Tough had just recently had a vision, and things that he had seen and heard in this vision are just kind of all coming together, and he just gets a sense of purpose and maybe a little belief of the whole keeper situation now. And he'll just say to Eliara, and I'll put my hand on the Flora Devida, I think I've got a way I can help with that.
She slowly looks over her shoulder with a puzzled look and just sees this brilliance and determination in your eyes. And with that, we are going to do a little bit of a time jump.
Oh, whoa, okay.
What? Backwards?
Backwards.
Oh, I want to go forward.
sweaty Joan vibe.
Oh, wow.
We're going way back.
That's episode 1.
So, Tough, you've had time to work on this solution of yours. You have gathered all of the kitsune, asking for their most precious materials, carving yourself out a workspace in whatever buildings remain. You have explained your intent and vision and have their full support. And in the meantime, Waltz and Dax and Jules are doing their best to help with your vision. And using this knowledge you've acquired from Dunadast's journal, from what you've seen in this vision, all of your time and training with Dunadast in your youth and all you've learned since then, you fashion a new and modified Arcanor, though this Arcanor does not channel the energy of a ley line, but the energy of the Flora Devida. And though it cannot give the Flora Devida new power, it can, with the infinite recursion of the Arcanor, sustain the power that remains. And Tough, you maybe exit the lab holding on to this massive inverted cone, funnel-shaped Arcanor built out of Arcanate, just as Dunadast was, only atop of it is the Flora Devida with its roots connected to the spiral grooves that surge around the Arcanor, and you see energy just beating and pulsing down this Arcanor, the Flora Devida sustaining its glow. So Tough, you are standing there, triumphant, feeling like you have completed this after maybe not even sleeping for like just chugging coffee, Dunadast style, working hard, and everyone is gathered around to witness it. You see the kitsune outstretching their arms towards it, just feeling the energy it's giving off of. They have smiles on their faces. Waltz and Jules and Dax work their way to the front of this crowd. What do you guys do?
Tough will just kind of announce, the Arcanor was always intended to do good. Well, that's what Dunadast intended. Now it can.
Your father would be proud.
Tough will just look up to Jules and give kind of a half smile, shake his head, yeah.
You see, Dax isn't quite as stoked because he's thinking back to Dunadast and how he wanted the Arcanor to be gone forever. So that's why the whole Frithador thing happened. But he's not going to say anything to ruin the mood or anything.
Well done, buddy. And I'll give you a pat on the back.
Tough, buddy, that's incredible. Who knew you had it in ya? And I'll give him a little punch on the shoulder.
That's funny, because at one point it literally was in me.
Yeah, I suppose it was. Yeah, good point.
El Yara walks up and she's just observing it. And over the weeks, you've learned that like much of the leadership of Ciudad de la Nubes was just wiped out in the civil war that took place, and just so many died in the ongoing battles. And El Yara is essentially the senior authority figure remaining, and she's essentially like the leader of Ciudad de la Nubes at this point. And she's just smiling at all of her remaining kin, just looking at this Flora Devida, knowing that the Kitsune will live on. And she doesn't know what the future will bring as they try and carve out their new place in this world. I mean, they maybe feel so vulnerable. They used to be hidden in the sky, moving at all times, and now they're just this stationary island. She don't know what people will come looking for or what will happen, but she just feels like they can survive anything given what has just happened, and just the poeticness of the fact that Keepers saved them before, and she now, as Renard believes, Keepers saved them again, and she's just so proud of her husband and what he did. And you see her children gathered around her. They're all just grinning ear to ear, knowing that their father's sacrifice wasn't in vain, and the Flora Devida lives. And they're just very triumphant vibes all around. Like, you guys are viewed as heroes right now. And El Yara walks up, joining in on the conversation, and says, "You have honored my husband in this city in a way I would have never believed an outsider could. All of us, are in your debt, and it is true what I said to you at Lago de Paz, Robato Gato, for it seems my husband entrusted a Flora Devida to a hero, and she gives you a big hug.
Yeah, you're darn right. And I'll kind of like pat her and then shove her away. But speaking of debt, I was taking a look at that treasure room of yours.
Tough.
What? They owe us, no?
Zoki tilts her head, the perceptive, roguish burglar that she is as well, the one who saw you way back in Mazivo with your sleight of hand, the only one that noticed what you were doing. She tilts her head and she goes, "It seems like you already took some treasure there, Tough." And she walks up and points her finger under your cloak and sort of just pulls it off to the side. And you guys all see that Tough has a mini Arcanor as a core in his chest, recycling
nice.
the Flora Devida energy
Holy
that remained
smokes.
in his body as well.
Heck yeah.
He's Iron Man.
He's
You
Iron Man.
Sneaky cat.
Tuff will throw his cloak over his new Arcanor core and say, "Oh, sure, there's that, but there's interest and all kinds of stuff. I better just take a look in that room again, just to be sure that we've covered everything."
I'll cut him off as he's rambling on, and I'll say, "So, where does this go?" And I'll gesture to the Arcanor with the Flora Devida.
Well, it is as Tough said before he started. The Flora Devida, the keepers, it was given to all Kaldora. I do not think this needs to be hidden anymore.
You know what? I think I've got the perfect place for it.
Huh?
Follow me. And I'll lead the group to a special spot that is close to the shore of Lago de Paz. And as we approach it closer, you see this shape kind of towering over the trees. Can't quite make out what it is, but once we clear the trees and we're standing at the foot of it, you see this large statue. And if you look closely, you can tell that it's made up from the rubble of Castle of Starsea. And as you look up, you see two very familiar and friendly figures. You see Smith Cervantes with his wings spread out gloriously.
Nice.
And riding on top of him is Renard with his hand extended, holding his sword, ready for battle, ready for glory. But Jules makes his way up the statue. He climbs up it carefully and gets out to the hand and removes some supports that are holding the sword in place. And before he removes the last one, he says, "Look out below!"
As you say that, there was a kitsune down there like chiseling some writing into the base of the statue because you've had a lot of help from a lot of the other kitsune. They're very artsy people as well. And they look up and see that, "Oh, look," and they dive out of the way as the sword crumbles on the ground below.
That took days.
Sorry, Esteban!
I love the name. Someone work on that wiki page right now for Esteban, please.
Yeah. I'll get started on the character art right away. And then Jules takes I guess I didn't say this before, but I pictured he took the Arcanor with the Flora Devida before he climbed up, and he places it in Renard's hands, so now it looks like he is extending the Flora Devida and the Arcanor, and it's shining brilliantly as he's atop Smith. And Jules will make his way down, and as he reaches the bottom, he kind of dusts himself off, puts his hands on his hips, and looks up and just smiles.
Eliara has her children around her. They're maybe like hugging onto her leg and just all very close, and her arms are around them. And she looks up with a smile. A tear rolls down her face, and she says, "It is perfect. Thank you, Jules."
You're welcome.
Tuff will walk up next to Jules too and cross his arms. "Not bad, Jules, not bad."
Thanks, Tough. I gotta say, wasn't sure it was gonna happen, but I'm glad you're sticking around for another adventure or two.
Wow, Jules, that's beautiful. How long did this take?
You're getting pretty good at this.
Well, this time I had some help. And I'll look back to Esteban and some of the other kitsune that helped construct this magnificent statue. And
You see them stepping away with pride as well. And the Flora Devida was just like the ultimate touch, like the pop that it needed. And they're just beaming with pride as the energy reflects in their eyes. And the one, Esteban, I guess, who just finished chiseling, he looks back at his handiwork as well. And you guys follow his eyes and see the etching beneath the statue says, "The Keepers of Ciudad de la Nubes." And You notice
Nice.
beneath that title is a list of many, many names, and realize that this is a memorial for all the loyal Kitsune that died
Oh,
to
that's
save this
sick.
city.
Wow. Oof.
Waltz will just look on this monument in admiration for a while.
Zoki was maybe standing on the fringes looking at it, and she's nodding and just very proud of Renard. And she looks at his children, maybe even like somewhat envious, because in the very short time, Renard was a bit of a father figure to her, and she doesn't have a lot to remember him by, but one thing she did have was his guitar, which Renard asked her to return to his family, specifically his oldest daughter, who Josh said Zoki reminded Renard of. And she walks up to her and she says, "Hey, your father, he was a good guy, and he saved my life. And yeah, I don't know. You're lucky to have such a great dad, and I just want you to know that he loved you, and he talked about all of you all the time. You guys were what was driving him to get home." And they're looking up at her and just kind of smiling and nodding, and Eliara is also smiling. And Zoki says, "Anyways, he wanted to make sure you had this." And she takes his guitar off of her shoulder and reaches it out to his daughter. And as she grabs it, something falls out. A letter.
What?
And Zoki says, "Wait a minute. What's this?" She crouches down and they pick it up.
Hello, my friends.
That's right. Josh just joined. There's a letter from Maynard, and who better to read it than Josh? But everyone shut up for a second. We got to do another clap so Josh can be in on the recording, okay? Is everybody ready?
Fine.
Adam, give us a
This is
countdown so the
amazing.
Welcome,
listeners can hear
Josh.
too.
I'm too excited. 3, 2, 1.
Man, it's good to do another clap with Josh. What's up, Josh?
I'm so happy to be here, guys.
Hello, my friend.
Dude, the listeners are going to love to hear your voice again.
100%.
We literally had someone in the Discord the other day say, "Please tell me Josh comes back. I wanted him to be a permanent member." And we're like, well,
Because there's no
he's
way you guys
dead,
would have
but-
me back unless people were asking. Because you guys were done with me.
Yeah, we're like, man,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
tired of
Right,
playing
we
with
were
Josh.
over it.
Hold on, though. Hold on. We're getting sidetracked. He says he's going to hang out for the downtime. So we're going to talk about the arc and everything with Josh.
Nice.
But whoa, I'm getting ahead of
Heck
myself.
yes.
Shut up, Zach. Shut up, Zach. Okay. Zoki bends down and picks up the envelope and looks at it, maybe over her shoulder at everyone else for approval to open it. And Eliara, maybe recognizing the envelope itself and the seal on it, knowing it's Renard's, gives her a nod. And
Nah.
she opens it and she kind of looks around and can tell that everyone wants her to read it out loud. And the envelope is titled something that she reads out. For the new keepers of Caldora, my friends, my family. And she opens it and pulls out multiple pages, and you see her kind of sifting through it, trying to figure out the order to read it in. And she looks a little confused, and she starts to read, "To my starlit queen, Doña Lara, in distant skies.
Foreign stars I roam. Yet thoughts of thee light up the darkened gloom. And every cloud and every dream are home, where love abides and fragrant flowers bloom. O Elara, my heart's compass, truth laid bare. Thy bosom graced by moon's soft, tender glow. Thine eyes like stars, thine thighs so fair. Guide me through tempests and winds that blow, and blow, and blow.
Hello and wait, hold on. I don't think I'm supposed to read this for everybody here. I think this is for you, Doña Lara. And she's sort of blushing, and she takes it and she's nodding like, yes. I should have known. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have let you read something written by my Don Renard. And she folds it up and puts it away privately, kind of
Don Renard, you
as
dog.
her kids look confused as well. Is there anything else in there? Yeah. There's one for me. Maybe I should just read that for myself, you think? Yes, perhaps we should not read any more of this out loud. Okay. And then Zoki just starts handing out some pages to some other people as well. Waltz, you receive one. Jules, you receive one. Dax, you receive one. Tuff, you receive one. And Zoki starts to read hers, also hearing it in Renard's voice.
Zoki, I trust you have found this letter, as you are a thief and good at finding things in other things. This page is for you. One is for the keepers, each, and one for my wife, which I beg you to make sure she alone sees. What a shame I would feel. What great, deep, everlasting shame I would feel should any but Doña Lara hear my heart spoken so tenderly.
Oops, sorry.
You are a true companion, beautiful Zoki. I know you only began as a greedy wretch intent on gaining my coin and nothing else. Yes, your intent was clear to me from the start. I am no fool, you see. For when such a wise and admired Don plays the fool, who could help but believe that he was, no matter how hilariously ridiculous? Forgive me. I cause myself to laugh as I write these words. But indeed, friend Zoki, I played along with your feigned devotion, for I know better than most that though one may act at being noble, the noble deed is no less diminished. And once you taste the glory of a righteous cause, the gleam of gold will prove only a dim pretender to true riches. And the richness of your company was priceless. I too grew of the street, you see, without a family, a wretch, surviving off my guile and quick hands. That I would have remained, I think, were it not for an old sword master who saw what I could be. And I see what you can be, dear Zoki. It is my wish that for every year you have been forced to watch the world around you in fear, you could spend 10 watching yourself grow and learn and believing in who you truly are. And whoever that is, whoever you want to be. I so wish we could have been friends. We would have been wonderful friends. As Don of the family Cuyano, I grant you a seat in my house, a place of honor, not service. And ever, should your feet leave the earth and touch the clouds, you will be Zoki Cuyano de las Nubes, a daughter of the sky. Thank you.
Wow.
As you guys are all receiving your letters, you maybe look up and see Zoki. Her eyes are just welling with tears. And just moments ago, Zoki handed Renard's guitar to his daughter, and she was feeling sad because that was the only thing she had to remember him by. But now she has something to remember him by. And she felt like Renard, even in that short time, was the closest thing to a father figure she's ever had. And now she's been welcomed into his family, and she is just hiding her face because Zoki is not one to let people see such things, even though Renard tends to bring that out of her.
Wow.
So all of Digsby's crew realizes this is kind of just addressed to all of them, and you all sort of huddle around and look over each other's shoulders and are reading at your own pace and just hearing this in Renard's voice.
Today we destroyed a monster. It was one of the most thrilling and terrifying experiences of my life. For one ever so brief moment, though, I felt I would not see the sky again, that my hands would never again grace the guitar, and I find myself needing to write my feelings, which are often as beautiful and wondrous as myself. And then there's one addressed to Jules. Jules, how hilarious it was to watch you run for your life in utter fear while the rest of us fought that beast. Yes, you should have died the death of a fleeing coward, but I'm glad you yet live.
Yeah. I remember that.
And I know there is little true cowardice in you, for one cannot be a performer without first mastering their fear. And your music haunts my dreams. How some fishy person can suck on a stone and evoke such notes and tones is something magical to me. Yes, I hate you, but it is only because I know my music could never even rival yours. And there's like a couple actual tear stains on this one, like messing up some of the letters.
So sad.
Why must such a magnificent thing cause me to feel such shame? If I could trade every hour my fingers bled, learning to play the guitar, for a chance to suck a stone like you, I would. You suck, Jules. You suck more than anyone.
He's got a point, Jules.
I just love that he never asked for clarity about the comment, the ocarina.
I like how you literally blow on it and saying he's sucking.
No context of wind instruments. All right.
Hey, stick to your own letter.
All right, the next one's to Dax. Dax, there is little doubt I was the first to underestimate you, and certainly I doubt I will be the last. You are small and scaly. And I have no idea how you speak, but it is to our good fortune that you can. Some may see your value in being small or sneaky, but your words are wise and well thought. And whatever your magic is, I would not like to be on the other side of it. Perhaps, being in my confident and very admirable presence, you will find the strength to speak your mind more often. Keepers help us all if the voices of reason remain the softest. I think if I were to follow a keeper, I would follow one such as yourself. And I would proudly stand beside you, Dax. Whether that is in battle, or glory, or even to the end of the world.
Good leader, huh? Guess I have come a long way from those weirdos back on Drakis. What was with that frog guy anyway?
And the next one's addressed to Wally. Wally, I have never known one so strong, yet so kind. The way you support your friends has forced me to question everything I had come to believe about strength. Yes, you may not possess a great capacity for thought, but despite your lack of education and competence, you have become a hero worthy of the keepers. In many ways, you actually remind me of Raoul, but where his power led him to a blade, you have chosen to take the shield.
Oh, man.
A silly disc made of antiquated material and martial tactics. But in your hands, it is a powerful tool. I wonder what it would be like had more men of power taken up a shield rather than a blade. Perhaps our world would have already been saved. It was your heart that somehow showed me how I must face my old friend. One way or another, I believe I too will let go of the blade and turn to protecting those I love.
Whoa.
Oh man, Reynaldo. Man, I'm so proud to have flipped him off of my shield into that lightning shooting T-Rex.
he called you dumb, Waltz.
Why are you reading all of our messages? Doc, it's weird.
Yeah, tough. Come on.
There's one labeled to tough, and multiple times it looks like it was started and then scratched out. And now there's no full text, but GM Zach Ernesti, if you wanted to make it like a roll check to see if he can get anything from the scribbly bits that are there, I do know what he would have tried to start
All right.
writing.
You can roll me a perception check with a +4 circumstance bonus as your mechanical eye is rotating, trying to analyze this text.
Well, Waltz, to answer your question, it's because I don't have one to read. Look at this thing. I got a 18.
All right, I'll leave that up to you.
I don't think that's much. I feel like you get, you can maybe see in there somewhere, there's some sense of him trying to express gratitude, but he just keeps stopping himself the minute he starts writing his sentence. Just can't get to it. So tough is without a loving
But tough, I would say, like, you've gathered the context clues of this, that this was written after the T-Rex fight. And so much happened between you and Renard after that fight where he gave up the Flora Devida for you and put it in your core. And now you know he literally sacrificed his life to give you that energy instead of trying to carry it himself. And you almost prefer that he didn't write anything because that's almost like the sappiest thing you've ever had with another person. And knowing Tuff's rugged nature, you'd rather things be left unsaid, but you know. And as Tuff often says, animals, we get each other.
Tuff will look down towards his core and hold his hand to his chest and say, "That's right. He didn't write me one because I don't need one."
And as all of you gather around and are reading this letter and just seeing people's reactions to this memorial and all that has happened, you look at the Flora Devida sustained by this redeemed Arcanor, thinking of Renard and Smith and those that died for not only Ciudad de la Nubes, but the entire planet of Lorthal. And you are filled with gratitude for all the goodness you've seen in the midst of profound evils. You can't help but think back to Digsby, Dunadast, and Ryu, who all gave their lives to get you to this point, and look back on their sacrifices with a renewed perspective. Though, with that, you feel the heavy burden of what it means to be a hero, and cannot help but dread Raoul's warnings of the Alvirium and his words, But if you should kill me, I hope you are who you think you are, because the fate of Caldora will be in your hands. And that
Oh my goodness.
is where we'll
God.
end
So many
our
good
session. It's not the end of the
lines.
season. It's not the end of the season. There's more episodes. There's a few more coming. All right, everybody
This is going to be our
chill.
most
Everybody
quotable
shut up.
episode ever. Oh,
Josh,
okay.
thank you for
guys,
coming, but Josh, shut
Josh
up.
is here.
No, Josh,
Hey,
needs to shut
yeah,
up.
Josh, you
Adam
want
needs
to
shut
talk
up.
about
Joel needs to shut
stuff?
up. Ryan needs to shut up. Terry needs to shut up.
Hey.
Shut up.
Mhm.
Joel, your mustache
Wow,
looks
okay,
great.
Josh has been gone
Thanks,
too long.
I-
He obviously
it's
forgot how this
modeled
happens.
after-
But guess what?
Wait,
Don't
what
worry,
happens
Guess
now?
what though? Guess what though? Josh is being really nice.
What's
He's going
that,
to join
Zach?
the downtime, and we're going to talk about this episode in the arc and just his letter and all sorts of things. We'll even talk
Cinnamon
about
rolls.
Tuff's vision and all that stuff that I texted him privately. I mean, that's all in the downtime, guys. You want to check that out? Check out our Patreon. But for now, we're going to react to some comments that we've seen online about the show. Ha ha ha, everybody. Ha ha. It's not about other random stuff. It's about the show.
It's handy because we don't even
Um,
have to make the joke anymore.
Yeah, you don't even need to make a joke because I just beat you right to it. And I don't even know if anyone thought it was funny the first time, but we still we do it anyway. I'm going to read some Spotify comments.
Okay.
Hold on, Ryan.
Yeah, you
Ryan,
don't-
hold on. You
yeah,
actually,
Do it already.
Ryan, I
do it.
almost found the comment I wanted, and then you said that, and it just like really threw me
Oh
off.
my God.
I will give my permission to reading.
I'm going to die before this gets read.
Actually, I can't get anything to load, so I'm going to have Joel read this comment for us. Joel, can you please butcher the name and read this comment?
Yeah, you got it. This comment is by Glorm.
Okay.
I feel like we've used that. Okay. I think this is the best PF2E podcast I have ever listened to. Oh,
Yay.
thanks.
Let's
Oh,
go.
that was really
It
nice.
makes me think of me and my friends sitting around playing, and one of us said, "Hey, we should record this, but you guys are much better at it than we would be." That's pretty much what happened. Listening to you guys is helping me think of off-the-wall things I can do in my own game. Thanks for doing what you guys are doing. You all are awesome, and Waltz is the best.
Oh, dude, thank you.
Wow.
Very thank
Specific
you.
Walt shout out at the end. That's a good one.
Wow.
There you
What a
go.
great
New
comment.
friend.
So
Thank
nice.
That was awful nice.
Thank you for reading that, Joel. I'm sorry I told you to shut up earlier and then asked you to say something. That was not
Look.
cool of me.
Mhm.
That's mixed messages, but yeah, really appreciate that.
That happens.
Appreciate all the comments. I love Spotify comments. Thank you. Also, if somehow we haven't told you this yet in like an announcement, our Discord has started making a Mortals and Portals community managed wiki, and that's in the show notes. I left a link to that in the show notes. So if you want to like check out the wiki or like contribute to the wiki, that's where it is, and you can join in the Discord and talk about it. We have a whole channel dedicated to it. But honestly, I got to say, like, that is like one of the most flattering like things I think the community's like ever done. It's like a lot of work.
For
yeah.
sure.
I cannot believe it. Like opening it up and then seeing that someone spent time on it the day before and like seeing a new edit and like checking out a page and then seeing someone like reiterate our lore to us and explain it in like beautiful ways that even I couldn't explain it and then pick up
I
on
have learned
cool-
stuff from this
yeah, I know.
wiki.
Yeah. Joel's like, I finally understand what's going on. And then just seeing you guys like describe the characters and like things that you picked up on is just so cool. And there's lots of like witty little humor hidden in there. And like they made an item page for Tuff's many shafted gun and they called it the many shafted gun. And it's just stuff like that.
That is awesome.
It is like so cool. I think that's like one of the greatest gifts you guys could ever give us. Like, I love it. So thank you so much for doing that. There'll probably be an actual announcement uploaded to the feed about this before this episode's released. But if it hasn't, I just want to shout that out, and I just think it's so cool. So yeah, check it out. It's in the show notes. There's a link, and we'll see you next time, mortals.
Tuff will look around Jules at Eliara and then look up to Jules and whisper, "You know, she's single now." Just kidding.
Don't kill the moment.
Absolutely not. Worth a shot, but no way. That's some Marvel style undercut dramatic moment.
Yeah, right.
She's crying looking at the memorial statue.